Jane Doe, welcome to the Shawn Ryan Show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I really appreciate you coming. Sarah Adams, a really good friend of mine and repeat guest on Shawn Ryan Show, connected us, about a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so I know you're traveling from overseas. We'll not say where, but she says that you are the world's leading expert on Al-Qaeda. And I've been talking to Sarah, Scott Mann, legend. We even flew all the way to Vienna to interview Massoud, who's the leader of the National Resistance Front. Kind of took the torch from his dad, who was assassinated by bin Laden just a few days before 9/11. And we've been trying to get out, what Taliban, what Al-Qaeda, what ISIS, Al-Shabaab, all these terrorist networks have been up to on the show. And it's been really, really hard to kind of get people's attention. The mainstream media just refuses to cover it. I don't know why. And unfortunately, it took the attack on January 1st of 2025 this year to kind of get people really looking at it. And so now you have the whole world listening. And I know there was some attacks in Europe at the Christmas market. Sarah actually, she told us that was going to happen. I don't know if you would call that a prediction or if that was just flat out. Intelligence that's being brought to this show is coming to fruition. And now that people know that, people are paying attention. And so I know that takes a lot of courage to come out here and be on this show. And so thank you for being here.
And thank you for the invitation.
And just a quick introduction. So today we're going to hide your identity. We'll call you Jane Doe due to the nature of your work combating terrorism. Again, welcome to the show. You're one of the leading experts in the world regarding the Al-Qaeda terrorist network. You're an ISAF veteran and former intelligence analyst. You completed multiple tours in Afghanistan. Thank you for sitting down with us today. This conversation is going to help a lot of people. And this is from Sarah. I was texting with her this morning. And so a lot of people have a lot of faith in Sarah Adams and what she has to say because things are happening that she said would happen. Multiple things, both overseas and here. And so she texted me this morning. She said, Jane is humble, but you not only have the #1 expert in the world right now on AQ Central Leadership, but she has completely infiltrated them. What is in her head will save lives, no doubt. Have a great interview. And so if Sarah says that carries a lot of weight, not only with me, but to this audience. And as the audience grows more into the global scale, again, thank you for being here and emptying out what's in your head and what you know about these terrorist organizations to the entire world. I know that comes at a cost.
Thank you. I'm trying to do my best. I mean, it's Al-Qaeda is very sophisticated, and Sarah has been doing an amazing job, and I've been working with her in the last 2 years, trying to put the pieces together to understand what happened, around 2021, what has happened, what's been happening now. So, I'm trying to give you during this interview kind of that what we know.
Well, we got a lot of different subjects to dive into. First, everybody gets a gift. It'll be the only light part of the interview that we have here. So here you go.
Thank you. Oh, gummies.
Those are Vigilance League gummy bears.
Yeah.
Legal in all 50 states. I'm not sure if they're legal where you came from, but it's just candy. There's no CBD. There's no anything else in them.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big fan of gummies.
Right on.
Yeah.
And they're made here in the USA. So those are hard to come by as we're sold out again. And then the other thing, before we do start the interview, I have a Patreon account. Patreon's a subscription network And so one of the things we do, they've been around here forever, since before I even started this show. I used to teach tactics, which is weird saying that, seeing what this has developed into. But one of the things that I do for them is I offer them an opportunity to ask each and every guest a question. They've been with us here since the beginning. They're the reason that I get to sit here and the reason that you get to sit here. And so this is kind of the least I can do for my community.
Sure.
And so this question is from Kyle M. When dealing with a threat such as a VBIED or any other explosion, mass shooting kind of event, what are the proper precautions to take when analyzing for potential secondary attacks? And then there's a follow-on. Such as more shooters and secondary explosions, how does someone know whether to stay, fight, help the wounded, or retreat to a known safe location until the chance of a secondary threat is greatly mitigated?
Ooh, that's an easy question. I mean, we used to face with it in Afghanistan, right? We had all these very tough decisions to make every day. I think the key here, what we are facing, I mean, these complex attacks, is that how we can put together the first responders, right? I mean, when we talk about casualties, okay, let the medics take care of that, or just trying to catch, the shooters. I mean, that's on the police. Or what the community can do, yeah, that's another question. I think here what the challenge is going to be is that what if we have 2 attacks or 3 or 4 or 5 at the same time, the same place?
Yeah.
I mean, the key in here that the responders not to drag all of them to one spot. So it's all about, I think, the key going to be organization. What the local people can do, well, it's America. People have weapons. I mean, you have large numbers of veterans, special forces communities. Obviously, they can be kind of involved. The risk in here, it's like what happened during the Hamas attack. I don't know if you heard about the Hannibal Directive. When the Hamas attackers got into the music festival and the military got the order to shoot. And the military said, yeah, but we don't know who are the attackers. I mean, it's not clearly visible. And they said, doesn't matter, just stop them. So obviously there were casualties.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge risk in here when we talk about multiple attacks, how you stop them, how you can contain them. And local population, I mean, it's just law enforcement.
I have a feeling this question comes from Kyle Morgan, who was a prior guest on this show, former Delta operator, U.S. Special Forces. And he responded to a terrorist attack, I believe it was Al-Shabaab, at the Radisson Blu in Mali. And I can't remember exactly how long the gunfight was. I believe it was like a 16-hour gunfight / rescue mission. And when nobody else would answer the call, it was him. And I know that that still haunts him to this day. And now with the threat that we face here in the U.S. and also in Europe, I know this is on everybody's mind. So just to kind of expound on his question here, what is there anything that, so let's say it was a IED, a bomb. In my experience being overseas in Afghanistan, that was, I wouldn't say all the time, but in several cases, it was an initiation with a follow-on attack of shooters. Would you say that if an IED, a bomb went off in a location, could you expect shooters to come? Are you picking up that kind of
Yeah, I think so.
intelligence?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I mean, when we talk about VBID or IED, I mean, in Afghanistan, it was mainly targeting convoys, right? VBID is just targeting, the population when you have a crowd. I would expect here on US soil or in Europe, I mean, when we talk about VBIED, it's going to target specific locations. I mean, because the key, I believe, at least the information until now I have, is that attack with an explosion is just going to be kind of the beginning of an attack which is coming after. Okay, so and the key of that is to drag the first responders to one side.
Okay.
Okay, so imagine that if you have, I don't know, it's really just a wide example, so it's nothing to do with information, like getting a suicide bomber into a museum, where obviously you can have high casualties, right? And the first responders will be there. I mean, several ambulance cars, the police, just close the vicinity of the area, and mass shooting is starting on the other side of the city.
Okay, so it would be it's a diversion.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a diversion with mass casualty event, and then a follow-on attack somewhere else in the city or throughout the country.
Yeah, and the key is to not have a response. So until now, what I know is that just imagine that you have an explosion in one place and you have just, 1,000 people around. Everyone is calling 911. That's a massive hit on the communication system, right? Because everyone is calling 911 and it's one location. So when phone calls, thousands are coming from another location, I can't imagine how the system is going to handle that. And we are just talking about communication.
I don't know how you would handle that. You would have to be very smart about how you allocate resources, or have at least a team, maybe a SWAT team or 2 SWAT teams sitting behind to respond to a follow-on. Do you think we'll see that? So that doesn't just apply to bombs. That would apply to any attack.
Yeah.
Could be a diversion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's the key. That's really the key, that it's going to be so hard to encounter it. And it's just back to the question, I think the United States has this, you have a lot of veterans. Just imagine that something is happening around where you live. I know you, you will grab the weapon, and you do your job because you are trained for it. But in Europe, we don't have it. We don't have this large number of veterans.
Yeah. Nor can you carry a weapon.
No. But with these attacks, at least until what I know now is that, it's going to be probably one attack, make a huge diversion, overstretching the responders, and then just do the next one.
Do you think that Europe is a lot more vulnerable to this than the United States?
Absolutely.
Do you think they'll start there?
It's difficult because, anything can trigger the attacks. And that's the key here. That's what I'm trying to figure out, how they work, how they think. I'm just telling an example. Can be that we stop funding the Taliban and just, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I hope that we stop funding the Taliban.
I hope so.
I have to say this on every show, even though every time we talk about this, even on other shows, when I interviewed Donald Trump, when I interviewed J.D. Vance, I talk about it. But we are currently funding the Taliban, according to legend Sarah Adams and Massoud. The U.S. is currently funding Taliban $40 to $87 million a week, flown into as cash into Afghanistan through NGOs. And it was, to my understanding, I believe, since the Afghan withdrawal, the Taliban has set up over 900, and this is even 6-month-old news, so I'm sure it's more than that, over 900 NGOs, facade NGOs that just funnels the money right back into the terrorist organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. But also when we talk about the cash delivery, is that, so the plane is landing, there is a UN personnel, because part of it is, the cash for UNAMA, but there are additional bags.
Wow. I'm always on the lookout for ways to get healthier, especially now. That's why I'm so glad I discovered Armora Colostrum. Armora Colostrum has thousands of people reporting absolutely life-changing benefits, tens of thousands of 5-star reviews, and transformational stories. Armora Colostrum is a proprietary concentrated bovine colostrum that harnesses over 400 living bioactive nutrients that can help strengthen the barriers of your body and help fuel cellular health for thousands of research-backed health benefits. Armora Colostrum can help strengthen immunity and gut health, help improve fitness and metabolism, and enhance skin and hair radiance. We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmora.com/SRS or enter SRS to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/SRS. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. These statements and information are not a substitute for or alternative to seeking care from your healthcare providers. I know everybody out there has to be just as frustrated as I am when it comes to the BS and the rhetoric that the mainstream media continuously tries to force feed us. And I also know how frustrating it can be to try to find some type of a reliable news source. It's getting really hard to find the truth and what's going on in the country and in the world. And so one thing we've done here at Shawn Ryan Show is we are developing our newsletter. And the first contributor to the newsletter that we have is a woman, former CIA targeter. Some of you may know her as Sarah Adams, call sign Superbad. She's made 2 different appearances here on the Shawn Ryan Show. And some of the stuff that she has uncovered and broke on this show is just absolutely mind-blowing. And so I've asked her if she would contribute to the newsletter and give us a weekly intelligence brief. So it's going to be all things terrorists, how terrorists are coming up through the southern border, how they're entering the country, how they're traveling, what these different terrorist organizations throughout the world are up to. And here's the best part, the newsletter is actually free. We're not going to spam you. It's about 1 newsletter a week, maybe 2 if we release 2 shows. The only other thing that's going to be in there besides the intel brief is if we have a new product or something like that. But like I said, it's a free CIA intelligence brief. Sign up, links in the description or in the comments. We'll see you in the newsletter. It's a new year, and there's no better time to start sleeping better with Cozy Earth's best-selling bedding. It's soft, lightweight, temperature-regulating, super comfortable, and helping me sleep better than I have in years. You can feel the difference, too, with Cozy Earth's bamboo sheet set. It gets softer with every wash, they're breathable for cooler sleep year-round. And they're made of durable weave fabric that won't pill. Cozy Earth prides itself on the responsible production of all their products. And better yet, Cozy Earth bedding products have a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. So there's no reason not to try them. A better year starts with better sleep. Wrap yourself in Cozy Earth. Head to CozyEarth.com/SRS now and use my exclusive code SRS for up to 40% off. That's CozyEarth.com/SRS. If you get a post-purchase survey, say you heard about Cozy Earth from the Shawn Ryan Show podcast. I also have to say that Congressman Tim Burchett out of Tennessee is the only one that has been on this since the beginning. There's been some more congressmen that have gotten involved with this, but even our 2 senators here in Tennessee, I personally spoke to one of them. to get this push because it got stopped at the Senate, and it just fell on deaf ears. It fell on deaf ears. Our Congress here, or no, excuse me, not our Congress, our Senate here, our government is not taking this seriously, and these senators, these congressmen that aren't taking this seriously need to be held accountable. And so I would urge the audience to pay attention to what your congressmen and what your senators are doing, because if they don't take this stuff seriously, as we saw on January 1st in New Orleans, people are going to die. They're going to die. And moving back, just rewind in just a minute back to the terrorist, the follow-on attacks, and you were talking about it, the kind of the Second Amendment here in the U.S. and how that could play a role in stopping attacks as they happen. Do you think that, or maybe do you know, not do you think, do you know if these terrorist organizations, Al Qaeda, ISIS, Taliban, Al Shabaab, the Islamic Brotherhood, is, I believe that's what they're going by now. Do they take that into account in their intelligence gathering? Do they look at this country its citizens are unable to defend itself? This state has very strict gun rights or no gun rights. They're not able to defend themselves. Don't go to Tennessee where everybody here carries a gun to defend themselves. Are they aware of that, and do they take that into account?
Absolutely. I mean, it always impresses me how they work. I mean, how they assess situation, how they have these great abilities of observation learning. And they see the struggle what we are having. They are just following the news. It's so simple. I mean, if you see a state where there is like always negative news about, for example, the police, easy target. Why? Because the population don't trust.
You're talking about the states that have defunded the police.
Yeah, it's just examples, so they are really watching us.
They're in tune with this.
Absolutely.
And they take that into account.
They know our politicians. So it's really interesting in the last 2 months, 3 months, since President Trump got elected, the change, even how they communicate inside a group.
What has changed?
That, they felt safe before, freedom of movement, freedom of operation, they've got the money. So now they kind of struggle to see what's going to happen. They had, the Doha Agreement. It was during the Trump presidency when it was signed. So now they don't know what's going to happen. And that worries them. And it makes them, I think, less predictable.
Interesting. I've thought a lot about this, and not only with terrorist organizations, but also the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese. I mean, in my opinion, it would have been not in their best interest to attack under the Biden administration, because the weakening of the country is just happening at such a rapid pace, and I try to think like them. And so if I were them, I would have waited until that election happened to see who was going to win, to see if the country would continue to weaken. And if it had continued to weaken under a Harris administration, which it would have, with the open borders, with the immigration policies, with basically just the negligence that we saw throughout the entire country and in the world, if I were them, I would not have attacked until a stronger president comes into power, because at that point, the weakening stops and it starts to strengthen. And so what I thought they would do is they would hit us at our weakest point, which they did on January 1st.
Yeah, they were very happy, with the administration, because Al Qaeda was denied, money is flowing, so it's just better, to keep a low profile, just stay under the radar, you do your business, and that's fine.
And keep infiltrating.
Yeah, and keep infiltrating. Um, open border. But I see that in Europe, so it's not just a problem of the United States. In Europe, it's when the refugees are coming, we have a law, and we are not sending people back.
Sarah had mentioned that there is at least 1,000 terrorists that have infiltrated the United States. I'm surprised that it's not more, but it sounds like that. Sarah only reports facts, and so or gathers factual information, and so I'm curious as to your insight. Are there more than 1,000? Are there more than 1,000 confirmed terrorists that have set up sleeper cells within the United States?
Well, my numbers are quite the same. What I would add to this, it's just the attackers, and we haven't talked about facilitators.
What do you mean by facilitators?
Facilitators, for example, we have the war on Gaza, which obviously has a huge impact, and not just on Muslim population. If you see the protests, what we had. It's going to be so easy to find facilitators who are going to take care of, one money transfer, who is going to help attackers to get into a building, because I feel you, I'm with you, brother.
So they will find these facilitators at those protests?
Oh, yeah, just, like the ISIS claimed that the New Orleans attacker was not an ISIS member, was just a sympathizer. So, and we see what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Shawn, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it's just growing every day.
So these 1,000 plus that are confirmed to be within the United States borders, are they grouped together in pairs? Are they singletons all throughout the United States? Is there 1,000 different locations that all these people are at, and those are the facilitators? Those are recruiters. Those are facilitators. Those are planners on future attacks, or are they grouping up in 10 different places in 100? Or are they grouping up into 20 different places of 50? Or do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think, we are talking about small cells. Okay, so it's from operational point of view, it's really wise to keep them separated. If one falls, one cell gets discovered, you still have the other 10 or 15 safe. So I believe, at least what I know, they are not communicating much between each other. So the cells are staying separated from each other. It's how many cities and where, we still don't know. We are working on it.
Do we have any confirmations of where they may be?
We have some, but we couldn't confirm it yet. Not yet. We are working on it.
How many have infiltrated Europe?
I think it's more than 1,000. It's easier. They come as refugees, and they just simply get in. So they walk through, and I think countries have this the United States has its database, right? Big part of it is coming from Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. You had all the names, the backgrounds. Europe doesn't have this big database. If they are sharing between Europe or the United States, I don't know that. But I know it was one guy who reached Greece in 2019 as an Afghan refugee. And it was a case study. No one questioned why he ran away from Afghanistan in 2019, when we still had the government. But he was a refugee. And it was taken by a European country. And after a few months, he just grabbed a knife and killed 2 women. And the narrative was, I believe it's a narrative, is that he had mental problems. So, it's this thinking. 2019, why did he need to run away from Afghanistan? Why was he a refugee? No one is asking. Was taking there to that European country and killed two women.
Why are they formulating these narratives? Why don't they just call it for what it is? Is it to try to contain mass hysteria or try to contain fear throughout the population? Or is it they don't want to bring light on terrorist organizations or what? Why are they coming up with these narratives?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm asking this almost every day. That I think it's sort of a protection also, that it's leave the people in the delusion that they are safe. You are safe. You are not questioning. But also the other thing is, just think of it, if you just using this case study, that if you have an Afghan coming and killed two women, you start to question what's going on in Afghanistan, right? But when you start to question it, you get answers. When you have answers, you have to do something. No one wants to do anything related to Afghanistan. No one.
So it's basically to save
move
their own
on.
power.
Yeah,
They don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be removed or elected out or removed from power.
Yeah.
So they want everybody to know, hey, it's safe. This is just a one-off. This is a spin-off. This is nothing to be worried about. It's just a coincidence as this happened. They don't want the fear to come, or they don't want to reveal the truth of what's going on, because if they did, they would show how incompetent they actually are in office.
And it's also, having successful 4 years. Because it's what I can see. It's all about, related to Al Qaeda and Afghanistan. So it's what's going on in there. It's all about short-term political agenda, and not about long-term solutions. So it's something like this. This is what I can see. Related to Afghanistan as a narrative. Move on. There is nothing to see here. Move on. So everything related to Afghanistan is just buried.
We saw that. We've seen that.
And these mental issues, that's the main narrative now in Europe.
What is it?
It's the attacker had mental issues, mental problems.
It's an ideology problem.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really concerned. I know every time I cover this, more and more people get concerned. I'm actually extremely concerned that Sebastian Gorka took the director of counterterrorism role here within the United States. The guy has zero background. I don't know why he was placed in that position. He doesn't know what he's doing. And hopefully somebody more competent takes that role, like Scott Mann or Sarah Adams. Speaking of Scott Mann, Sarah Adams, this is another, I don't know if I'd call it a positive, but I just want the audience to know that there are people out there that are trying to reach local communities. I know you're a big part of this. Scott Mann, retired Lieutenant Colonel, Green Beret, out of Special Forces. Sarah Adams, former CIA intelligence analyst and targeter. I know you're involved in this. You guys are coming out with a book called The Gathering Storm. And Scott Mann and Sarah have been flying around the country. To anybody that will listen to what they're trying to what they're saying to try to prepare the local communities as our politicians continue to fail. In fact, they're coming here to my county to brief an entire panel at our sheriff's department. I talked to the sheriff. They're coming here. We're actually having a panel here coming up on everything that they've uncovered, and along with you, what you've uncovered, because I know they take everything that you have very seriously, and so that's what they're doing. And so sheriff's departments, police departments, lots of local governments, very small communities they're listening as our federal government, state government continue to fail us. And so can you talk a little bit about what the Gathering Storm operation looks like and what exactly it is?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so there is part of the book where we put together actually what we know. There is a part of it, for example, which is about Al Qaeda, the changes it went through, how it's operating in and from Afghanistan, what are the other bases, and yeah, I think I want to highlight something because it's really important. I think it's pretty amazing in America here that you have people listening. I think it really shows that people are taking this seriously. We don't have this in Europe.
You don't.
No, we don't.
Even after what happened at the Christmas market, nobody's listening.
No one. No, there is nothing to see here.
You need to move here.
Yeah. So, and yeah, we are focusing on local communities, and trying to share what we know. Because I think, it's we always call it's critical information. If you have the intel, you can be prepared. You can prepare the people, you can prepare the law enforcement, you can prepare the first responders, right? And I think it's a huge advantage. And this is necessary to do that. I struggled a little bit in the beginning. Okay, we are creating, mass hysteria. People are going to panic. But and I get this question. It's just, what if you are wrong? And I always say, okay, let's turn the question: what if I'm right? Or what if we are right? And there will be no response.
Well, I can answer that question right now. What if you're wrong? Well, what if you are wrong? Well, then we're all better prepared for what might come. And you're right. What if you're right?
Yeah.
Which January 1st proved that you are.
Yeah. And just a little bit how we work, that Sarah has her own line, I have my own line, I have a partner, he has his own line. So we are using minimum 3 independent networks. So we verify information.
You've infiltrated all of these terrorist organizations, number one being Al Qaeda, correct?
Yeah, I did.
How did you do that?
I think it's, when Al Qaeda said, and it was stated in 2016, it was al-Zawahiri who said that Al Qaeda wants to return to Afghanistan. And
could you say that again?
In 2016, al-Zawahiri stated that Al Qaeda wants to return to Afghanistan. It was in 2016 when he stated that. And it's an easy, for them, they are one, the ideology is the same. So it was an understandable choice. But we have our allies there. So, and the interesting part when we talk about this is that the Afghans are not so happy about Al Qaeda being there. The Taliban is. But the Afghan population, in general, they are not.
Yeah, it seems that the local Afghan populace is obviously very concerned. They made a lot of headway when we were there, and now that's completely demolished. And then, another thing that Sarah told us is that Hamza bin Laden is still alive, even after we reported that apparently he was dead. And so it's to my understanding that Hamza bin Laden is marrying into all these different terrorist networks. He's married into the Taliban, Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda, all these terrorist networks to form the Islamic Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And so now he's basically taken, would you call them competitors?
Yeah.
He's taken competitors and he's united them all with one common goal being to take out the West.
Oh, it's not just Hamza, actually. His brother also married recently to a woman from the Haqqani network. So they are one. And actually, they didn't even hide it because it was stated several times. Now they are not hiding. Hamza is wandering around in Afghanistan. And even if you ask an average Afghan, okay, who is, like educated, knows who Hamza bin Laden is, and they are telling you. I mean, it was, I think, 2 weeks ago. I texted to a couple of people I know from the past, and when I asked, okay, so Hamza bin Laden, no one said, no, he is dead. But I mean, to deny that he is alive is deliberate. It's not because they don't have the intel. They know he is alive.
They do. Why are they
I
hiding
believe
that?
so.
Why did they try to hide that?
Because otherwise you have to do something. I mean, how could you explain? I mean, just imagine that you are a political leader, and someone is coming to you and saying that, hey, Shawn, Hamza is alive. Yeah, I don't want to know that, because when you take it, oh, seriously, you have to do something, because people will ask, Shawn, why aren't you do something? Why is he still alive?
MI6 reported him alive. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. What other countries' intelligence organizations are now reporting that revealing that he's alive?
It's the British. They do, and they really don't understand. I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard that it already appeared in the British news that Hamza bin Laden is alive. So it was intentionally leaked to the British media, kind of warning the people to trying to do something. The Australians know that he is alive. It was a little bit of confusion in the beginning, because when Hamza appeared, Abdullah bin Laden, the brother, he was in Afghanistan. And it was even in the UN report in 2021. So when Hamza appeared first, and I've got the information, I started to question, are you sure it's Hamza? Yeah, it's Hamza. Are you sure it's not Abdullah bin Laden? And they said, no, it's Hamza bin Laden. And then after 2 months, I could find an NDS, a former NDS officer, who said that, yeah, Hamza is alive.
Real quick, NDS was basically the Afghanistan's version of MI6 or
Yes.
CIA. It's
Yes.
their intelligence. It's their intelligence organization.
Yeah. So they reported after 4 or 5. We tried to, see that it was 4 or 5 months after that they reported to the US annex that Hamza bin Laden is alive. And according to sources, there was even a photo attached, was taken in Paktia of Hamza.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Do you think that we'll get more into Hamza here in a bit, but one thing too, I just want to say that we spoke about the gathering storm. Look, this is the best of what we have right now, and it's coming from a former intelligence targeter, yourself, former current intel analyst, Scott Mann, retired Lieutenant Colonel Green Beret. We're going to link that below. This is right now. This is pretty much the only way to prepare yourself, your community, get that to your local leaders. We'll link that below for everybody to take advantage of. It's not even out yet, but I'm not sure when it releases, but it will be very soon. I spoke to Scott last night, and he said he's finished with it. Mm-hmm. But one more thing, before we move into all the other stuff that we're going to talk about, do you think that these terrorist organizations will start to target specific individuals, much like what we saw with Joe Kent's wife, who the former the DIA intelligence officer, a really good friend of mine, Scotty Wirtz, was killed in that. He was protecting her, and they targeted them at a restaurant meet, car bomb, boom, killed him with a car bomb. And do you think that we'll start to see individuals within Europe, within the United States? Will there be individual targets, or will, in addition to mass casualty events?
I think it's in the pack. I know that Iran has his own list, who should be killed. Also, Al-Qaeda in 2023, December, also mentioned 3 people. One is Elon Musk. The other one, I don't remember his name. He is related to economics. So yeah, they have a list to do that. I think can be a twist in here that Al Qaeda and the Taliban, they have very good relationship with organized crime groups.
Meaning cartels?
Yeah, cartels. For example, Sirajuddin Haqqani has this amazing cooperation and relationship with the Albanian mafia, which is controlling half of Europe. They have network. I mean, almost global. So that makes it even more unpredictable. I know that Al-Qaeda, I mean, on the election day, when it was announced President Trump won the election, yeah, Al-Qaeda was not so happy.
Why would they target a individual like Elon Musk? Is that for the press, or do they have something personally against him?
In the video, what they released in 2023, it was more about he's kind of a symbol, of economy. He's a symbol of power, infidel, so that is nothing. I think they also, obviously, they can use it as recruitment, but he was mentioned in that video.
And the economics, why would they go after somebody with economics?
Because it's power. That's why 9/11, the VTC, they were symbols, the towers.
Do they have a history of this? I mean, I don't, in my time in service, I don't remember seeing a gross amount of information saying that individuals would be targeted. It was always locations like coast, the station at Kabul, Kandahar, the black base that was down there. I mean, I can't say it never, but I don't recall seeing individual targets. Is this a new thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a new thing now. They can see that there are people, if they are taken out, it can be used as their own interest, their own benefits. It's kind of a new thing, and I think it makes them also vulnerable. So it's I'm working on this part because it's interesting how they see. Obviously, they want to avenge Soleimani's death, who was killed during President Trump's administration. That was a big hit for them, and they want to avenge it. And but as you said, in the past, for example, they didn't want to kill Obama. At least, I mean, they were talking about it, and there was a letter found in Abbottabad when they said, "Okay, don't touch him."
Why?
Because they saw that would create a vacuum, and that's where they used that. And I'm apolitical, but that's when they wrote that is. Biden was by that time, the vice president, and they said he's completely unprepared for the position. So killing Obama wouldn't make that benefit for Al-Qaeda.
So it was a longer play. They could foresee that.
They always play on a long term, and this is where we are losing.
Wow. Why does this all stem in Afghanistan? Why is this not stemming more in Yemen or Iran? Why is Afghanistan such a key country for festering terrorism?
Al-Qaeda, I mean, they have these amazing strategists. Okay, so even today, and they had this analysis where open jihad, the open front jihad, can be carried out. Al-Qaeda made a list of their own limitations as well. So it's really like in military, what the capacity you have and what you can achieve. So it's brilliant. And one of them was Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and North Africa. What they identified as can be suitable for open front jihad. It's why? Because the government is weak, social services are weak, the ideology is not far, the local population's ideology is not so far from Al-Qaeda's. And this is where they can grow the seeds. And they have. I mean, Yemen is always been for them kind of soft targeting. Obviously, it has a government which is kind of supported by the West. Afghanistan that's where everything has started.
So how are they communicating? It sounds like all of the leadership is within the Afghanistan borders, correct?
Yeah.
And so now that it's a safe haven for terrorism, how are they communicating with their leadership throughout Europe and in the United States?
Inside Afghanistan, the senior members, they are communicating with each other by couriers. So interestingly, they don't...
By couriers?
Couriers, yeah. They don't trust...
So they don't have a digital footprint.
No, they don't.
This is all couriers.
Yes. So they still don't trust, much. With Europe, it's they are using technology. So what I know is they are communicating encrypted messages. So they use the digital communication.
What kind of message? Like Signal, Proton?
Kind of, and emails. Also, you can create, these temporary email addresses, sending, then after 1 hour, it's deleted. So they use that. But yeah, within Afghanistan, they don't. I mean, we've got a couple of phone numbers of them, but they are not using much.
Wow. And so all of the 1,000 plus that have infiltrated the United States, the 1,000 plus that have infiltrated Europe, none of these entities are communicating with each other within the borders. It's all coming from Central Command, which would be stationed in Afghanistan.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I believe that, but as I'm saying, I mean...
So it's very compartmentalized, is what I'm saying. They don't know what each other's doing.
That's the key, not knowing each other. One cell falls.
So the only way that it could get leaked is by 2 points. The single point within the United States and the single point within Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They couldn't. So basically, for those that don't understand what I'm saying by compartmentalization is, if let's say that the FBI raids a sleeper cell within the United States, that sleeper cell will not have any information when it comes to what the other 999 sleeper cells within the U.S. borders or within Europe's borders is doing. It's all, the only way to infiltrate it is at the head, which would be in Afghanistan.
Yeah, exactly. And even within one cell, they don't even know each other's real name. So it's really, if you see that from the operation point of view, it's genius. One cell is not going to lead to another.
Wow.
It's not. And you have all these Taliban and Haqqani network supporters here in the United States. I mean, personally, I have some experiences with them. And also they can pass messages.
What is your experience with them?
Very negative. I mean, okay, I didn't expect they will be positive. That it's really all about trying to legitimize, the Taliban government, whitewashing the Taliban, Al-Qaeda as well, changing basic information. It start to argue about really facts, what you can even find open sources. They are very aggressive. And this really had a peak during the election time. They really had this campaign of Biden-Harris. I mean, they even created a hashtag for it. It was really interesting. And just, false narrative. And you have a lot of lobbyists here in the United States. I mean, we are listing them, and they are powerful. I mean, there are people listening to them.
Who? Who are these lobbyists?
One
The
of them,
organizations or the individuals?
both. I mean, individuals is like Zaman Khalilzad. I don't know if you heard about him. He's one of them.
I haven't. Who is that?
He was he was member of the Doha negotiations. He's an American citizen. He's from Afghanistan, and he had this key role, passing more power to the Taliban during the negotiations. He is one of the powerful lobbyists. And there are several former businessmen here. So, yeah, they are powerful and they are listening to them.
And what are these lobbyists doing?
It's obvious, this small chatter, the Taliban doing this, the Taliban doing that. There is no Al-Qaeda. And to me, it's strange because when you read it in a UN report, it's obviously that person is lying, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they are just keep going with the narrative, keep repeating. I mean, I see that since the US presidential election, how the propaganda machine of the Taliban has changed, for example. It's all the positive news, economic innovations, new factories. Life is wonderful in Afghanistan. Everything else is a lie. And we predicted that. I mean, we made several posts about it, what kind of changes are going to happen, all became true.
Man, this stuff scares the hell out of me. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll pick right up. One of the most important ways to stay healthy is cooking your own food. The best way to start the new year is with a home-cooked meal, and Hexclad makes that easier than ever. Hexclad are hands down the best pans I've ever used. Hexclad makes cooking so much more convenient. I get the performance of stainless steel and the convenience of nonstick in a single pan. They're easy to clean, dishwasher safe, and simple to wipe off after use. They're even oven safe, up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. The patented hexagon design is durable and protects against scratches, even from metal utensils. Plus, Hexclad products come with a lifetime warranty. They can literally last a lifetime. For a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just head to hexclad.com/SRS. Support our show and check them out at hexclad.com/SRS and tell them we sent you. Bon appetit. Let's eat with Hexclad's revolutionary cookware. While we may have won this election, the fight to restore our great nation has just begun. Now is the time to take a stand, and Patriot Mobile is leading the charge. As America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, Patriot Mobile offers a way to vote with your wallet without compromising on quality or convenience. Patriot Mobile isn't just about providing exceptional cell phone service. It's a call to action to defend our rights and freedoms. With Patriot Mobile, you'll get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all three major networks. If you have cell phone service today, you can get cell phone service with Patriot Mobile with a coverage guarantee, but the difference is every dollar you spend with Patriot Mobile helps support the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and our veterans and first responders. Switching is easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% US-based customer service support team will help you find the perfect plan. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/SRS or call 972-PATRIOT and get a free month of service with promo code SRS. Switch to Patriot Mobile today and defend your freedom with every call and text you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/SRS or call 972-PATRIOT. All right, Jane, we're back from the break here, and man, this is already like pretty alarming stuff. But I want to get into more about Al-Qaeda. So what are some of the leadership changes that you're seeing within that organization right now?
Yeah, they they are continuously changing, but there are significant changes what we could observe. One of them is that they became more goal orientated and less rule orientated. So that's why
More
they,
goal
yeah,
orientated and less rule
yes,
orientated. What does that mean?
they focus so much on operations to carry out the attacks, to do their own business. So if you see Osama bin Laden or Ayman al-Zawahiri, they were also fighters, okay, mainly Osama bin Laden, not Zawahiri, but they were this kind of soft guys, running around Afghanistan with the AK-47. Zawahiri, always about these religious speeches. So he was more a preacher, excellent strategist, of course, but the new leadership is more mission focused and they are so fast. I mean, they returned, Abdullah bin Laden arrived 2021. Saif al-Adel, who is the chief of the external operations of Al-Qaeda, returned in 2022. Hamza bin Laden returned in 2022 as well to Afghanistan. Saif al-Adel and Hamza al-Ghamdi, they are the two major guys in Al-Qaeda's leadership. They run mainly everything. And they are battle-hardened fighters. I mean, Saif al-Adel himself is coming from the Special Operation Forces.
Are you serious? The people that the U.S. trained?
No, he was in the Egyptian Special Forces.
Okay.
Okay, he was in Sudan, Yemen, Libya. He fought, against the Soviet troops in Afghanistan. The guy is a genius, and he is cold, and he is just marching to execute the mission. He is talking about. We know that from meetings, what they had. Of course, he is devoted himself to Allah. His life is the jihad, but it's a military guy. So when we talk about operation planning, it's a military guy.
Do they have different tiers within the organization? Do they have like how U.S. military set up? They have tier 1 organizations, being Team 6, Delta. They have conventional forces, the infantry. They have. Is it broken up like that into tiered units?
Not in Al Qaeda.
Okay.
Not in Al Qaeda. It's what they did is that they prepared and trained, the fighters, the attackers for Europe and for America to carry out the attacks, and very, very well planned operation. If you just see, what we've been talking about. And what I can see from them is that they even told us, let me quote you Saif al-Adel from 2023 November. This is what he wrote. We are facing this major shift in the global jihadist path and facing a radical change in rules of fighting on the occasion of the opportunity of the century that may occur only once or twice in a lifetime. We call on our Islamic peoples everywhere to fight this battle, which is the most important Islamic step. So they even are telling us they are changing. And if you see the previous attacks, you could see how the Hamas attack was already more brutal. It was extremely organized. I talked to former colleagues from the US Special Forces, and I asked them, what's your opinion? And they said, wow, they were extremely organized and synchronized what they did in Israel. the Hamas says. And if you see, it was several raids at the same time.
We're going to start seeing that everywhere.
Yeah. And you know, when I talk to other analysts, this is what I can see. It's kind of I don't know. It's a tendency now that no, that doesn't fit Al Qaeda's profile. You know, oh, that doesn't fit Saif al-Adel. It doesn't fit it. You know, these old dogmas. And if you see, Al Qaeda is it's a terrorist organization, but it's part of nature. So it learns, adapts, and evolves. So why are we just denying that? It's just acting as part of nature.
Have they ever been more effective than they are now?
Well, I was really surprised the changes and the achievement what they have reached during the last 2 years, and they are stronger than prior 9/11. They have more money, they are more organized, they are more trained. I mean, just to see the training what the fighters have received, and they are still receiving, okay? So they haven't stopped training fighters. That's scary. I mean, just to look at their equipment.
Yeah, it's all our equipment.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
U.S. equipment.
Mainly, yeah. Mainly.
I was going somewhere. I'm trying to regain my train of thought. The info that you're putting out is it's hard to keep a thought. It's hard to keep a thought. Can you explain what the Islamic Army is and who all is involved?
Yeah. It was 2023 November when it was right after the Hamas attack when I started to track movements of fighters. So the Taliban, Al Qaeda, and the Iranians, they moved fighters to Syria, Iraq, and it was extremely organized. I mean, they used airlines. So it's not even just cars, airlines. And then I started to see.
What do you mean they used airlines? I know that's on the outline.
Yeah,
About the
so
airlines.
right after the Hamas attack, the Taliban sent fighters to Iran, to IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard bases. They took a plane there, they took planes there, and Iran flew them to Damascus. It was before the 19th of November, no, 19th of October, because we just put the information to the system. Listen, guys, massive fighters flow are going to Damascus and they are going by airplanes. And that's when Israel bombed the runaway of Damascus, you know, just to prevent the planes landing. And then they turned to ground transportation mainly. It was, you know, a little bit slower because it's not easy to move a lot of people. But before that, that's what they did.
Something that's on, speaking of the airlines, and I'm switching gears here a little bit. Couple things. I want to talk about the invisible bomb that Sarah Adams has been discussing. We've talked about it several times. In fact, there's a really good discussion on it on our X Spaces. I think that's what they call it. But I want to talk about the invisible bomb. And I also want to talk about, let's start here. Scott Mann obviously has a lot of sources and is really tied in with this stuff as well. I know, I don't want to mention any names who he's involved with. I don't know if I should or not. I think it's okay, but I'll keep that quiet. But he's really tied in with some of the people that were in NDS. As I mentioned before, NDS is was the Afghanistan's version of CIA, MI6. It's an intelligence organization, and he got reports that they are Al Qaeda, these terrorist organizations. the Islamic Army is predicting 50 to 60,000 casualties within the United States alone. We talk about 9/11 was a $500,000 budget. Now we're sending 40 to 87 million dollars.
Yeah.
You know, what is there any through your network, have you heard anything about 50 to 60,000 casualties?
I mean, if you see that it's going, I mean, they are talking about mass casualties. Okay, that was mentioned several times, and it's really not about to show off. Okay, I mean, if you see the 9/11 attack, it was all about destroying symbols, and I'm really not about numbers. I mean, 3,000 people died. Now it's all about mass slaughter. And because that's going to paralyze the entire nation. And it's not just about the casualties. Just imagine that services will be shut down. And if
What kind of services?
I
Power
mean,
grid? Those type of services? Water?
I mean,
We're
just
talking police departments?
yeah, emergency. I mean, hospitals will be overwhelmed. Taking care of casualties. Still, I'm not even talking about economic impacts. I mean, if it's happening just at the same time in several big American cities, airlines, they will be stopped for sure, standard operation procedure. So the economic impact of this and the chaos, what it's bringing within. And who you are going to trust after. It's just so, it's so wide, the impact, and they are aware of it. That's why they planned it. And that's why the Hamas attack was an amazing rehearsal, because they could see that, step by step, line by line, what are the outcomes of an attack like this.
Let's dive in a little more specifically. Let's talk about the economic impact. How would that affect the economy?
Well, if you see the 9/11, I mean, the stock market was shut down. I think also for a week. I'm not sure about the time, but that can be predicted. Just to see how the goods are flowing, just really, I'm talking about the local level. I think it's more, it's easier to explain. Just filling up, the goods of the supermarkets. We talk about 1 week, 2 weeks. Will it happen? You don't know. Could you catch all of the shooters? Because we don't even know the number of the people in the cells. So it's this massive manhunt. Banks, obviously they will be closed. So the economic impact of this is also, I wouldn't minimize it. So it has impact on every part of our lives.
Man, I didn't even think about that. I did not even think about that. So the hospitals will be overflowed. The first responders, being the police, that will be completely taxed. There won't be enough of them to go around. We already talked about proper allocation of resources, which would be extremely hard to do.
Yeah, just imagine that there is a woman and it's time to delivery, and the hospital is just dealing, 100 casualties there, so it's...
Let's talk about the invisible bomb. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah. So it was, I don't think too many people paid attention. It was a video released in 2023. I was lucky because I saw the video. So I think it took for the authorities 30 minutes to remove from the internet. But there was one website where you could watch the video, I think, for a couple of days. And the airlines are still in the plan, to attack. And the invisible bomb, it's a homemade explosives. So they they guide you step by step how to make your own bomb home. And the most interesting part was they made, because they even talk about it in the video, that they made this research where you can buy what. For example, what ingredients you cannot buy in the United States, or it's tricky to buy because maybe the law enforcement, is keeping an eye on the sales. So it's really detailed how to make it, step by step. Of course, you need patience, and it's not so easy as it sounds, but you can make it. And it's a powerful bomb. The trick what they made about it is that when you prepare the bomb, you need to remove the smell, of the explosive, and then after you cover it with silicone. And that's why, and it doesn't have metal parts. So it's chemically induced explosion. So metal detectors are useless.
Dogs?
Dogs, no, because the silicone itself is just sealing the smell. So the only way is that, and even they show it in the video, the only way to detect this bomb is that the body scanner. The only way.
Okay. So they go through metal detectors.
Yeah.
A dog can't sniff it. So this could easily get onto airlines, pretty much anywhere that doesn't have the body scan machine, which I don't know how many airports have that now, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the
They
majority.
even tell in the video that not too many airports have it. I mean, the series is so detailed. I mean, they did the recce at the airports, and they are telling it that they check the airports, not so many. We are talking about big airports like, I don't know, I think in New York, JFK, they have it, they use it, but smaller airports, they don't.
Even some large airports don't.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, and it even in the video. So the video, it's about to make a homemade explosive like half a kilo, which is powerful. They even demonstrate it, so you can see it, and just less than 200 grams. Oh, sorry, it's a European language. Grams. It's enough to make an explosion in an airplane, which is going to be catastrophic.
I mean, even airplanes. I mean, that would be devastating. But we're just talking airports. What about major arenas, stadiums, concerts, football games, baseball games,
Yeah.
hockey games, speaking events, hospitals, schools?
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on. Nobody has this type of technology except the major hub airports within the United States, which even some major hubs haven't even implemented this type of technology with the body scan yet.
Yeah, and there are some airports, when they do body search, but of course they don't touch, for example, your intimate parts. You can hide it there.
How big is this?
I mean, it showed like it's approximately, I don't know, like 20 centimeters, and it can contain half a kilo, which is really powerful. And
Is it about? I mean, how thin is it?
I mean, it's like they even make the bomb. It's like a mineral water bottle, and actually they use a mineral water bottle to make it.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like a half a liter bottle. You can make it.
What kind of devastation are we talking about?
It was shown on bricks. They put together, and yeah, it's powerful.
Would it take a building out?
No, that's not. But for example, if you just go there next to gas lines, so the bomb itself, if you use one, yeah, probably it's going to kill people around you. But it's not. We are not talking about huge vicinity of that. But if you have couple of ones and couple of people, yeah.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like a VBID.
No. no, because it's big, so you can't hide it.
It wouldn't be as devastating as the typical suicide bomber that wears a vest. It would
No,
be a somewhat of a, I don't want to say minimal explosion, but compared to what we've seen overseas with a vest full of explosives or a car full of explosives, it
we
would.
find a solution for that. So what they did is that I don't know if you remember, in Afghanistan they put even screws, in the vest.
Fragmentation.
Yeah, exactly. So what they did now is that they shred plastic. It's like, with a knife, you cut this hard plastic, and it's sharp.
You sign up for something, forget about it after the trial ends, then you're charged month after month after month. The subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused every month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now I'm saving more money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts and keeps you informed with alerts if bills increase in price, there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over budget. Rocket Money will even automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save and lower your bills. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/SRS today. That's rocketmoney.com/SRS. rocketmoney.com/SRS. If you're like me, health and wellness is extremely important to you. But how do you know who to trust when it comes to the supplement industry? We have all these companies, they pop up every other day, they're all selling snake oil. How do you know who to trust? Well, here's the most important question. Who wants to take the biggest, most massive shit of your entire life? Bubs is a company I've used and trusted for a long time. They make great products, have rigorous quality standards, and they are a long-time supporter of this show. And they have the recipe for the biggest shit of your entire life. I love their collagen peptides. This isn't just any collagen. It is a benchmark of trust and performance. It's crafted with integrity and backed by NSF for sports certification, giving you their assurance of its purity and potency. Bubs Collagen Peptides help support your joints, help enhance recovery, and help revitalize your hair and skin. And yes, it will help you stay regular. Bubs was founded in honor of Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Doherty, and every product supports veterans with 10% of all profits going to help military men and women transition back into civilian life. And now for the recipe for the biggest and best shit of your entire life. Bubs Collagen Peptides mixed with Bubs Apple Cider Vinegar Gummies, and you have a recipe for success every day. Bubs Collagen Peptides, Bubs Apple Cider Vinegar Gummies.
And it's causing so similar injuries because they tested it.
So even the fragmentation is not
Exactly.
detectable.
No, it's not metal.
Could it be used to initiate something larger? You know, a lot of explosives, you need an initiation to detonate the actual the bigger explosive. Could this be used could they daisy chain it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean by daisy chain?
Yes, yeah.
Could it be connected to
Yeah,
others?
exactly. They can do that. So they are so smart, They see the equipment what you have, and they patiently take their time. How can I encounter it? Where is that gap what I can use?
Is anyone listening to this stuff?
I think to listen, Shawn, first, so when we are listening to people, first we need to acknowledge that we don't know everything, right? Also, we have to have openness, curiosity. Okay, what do you have to tell? Isn't it right? But most of the times when I talk about these things, I mean, very often I meet people that, no, Al Qaeda, no, they are gone, they are stupid. This is just guys running around with AK-47 and just, we really need to see how they are right now and where they are. And you have to be humble to do that, to acknowledge that I don't know everything. So during these 3.5 years, I made these amazing connections with analysts from, for example, from Switzerland, Australia, but even Pakistan. Everyone is saying, because of the narratives. I listen to everyone because I don't know when I can learn or getting a new information. And I don't see that we are having that from our leaders that, okay, sit down, tell me, what do you know? It's this, I'm sorry, I was actually looking for it, the proper English word is this arrogance, and I can see that on analysts too. In the last, just my last year talking to them, no, it's not. How do you know that? Oh, show me evidences. Well, I'm not going to post on Twitter, X. I'm not going to post it. So it just theoretically, let's sit down, talk. No, it's not like that. Actually, I found what can be behind, is that what Sarah, I, or my partner, we are going through is this going against the narrative.
The what?
Going against the narrative,
Going against the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. That Al Qaeda is gone. No, it's not gone. And just sit down 1 hour and I can prove it to you.
How do you prove it to them?
Obviously, the sources would prove a lot. This is where I struggle personally because I even told that if the new administration is going to sit down and talk, I really need guarantee from them that they are going to protect the sources.
Yes, I read in your outline that 22 of your assets have been murdered.
Yes. It's from my side and my partner who can't be here because of his line of duty. He couldn't come. And 22 gave his life. And everything points to they were burned by 3-letter agencies.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
They were burned by American 3-letter agencies?
Yes. I mean, they were the only ones. I mean, when you provide information to a government, you have to name your source, the position. They have to see that if the source is credible. And somehow, 22, that's a little bit high number to be coincident.
Yeah, I'd say. Do you know how the agencies are burning the assets?
They are cooperating, with the Taliban, but I would correct it. This is not a correct sentence. They are cooperating with jihadists, okay? It's not just the Taliban. We're not talking about just the Taliban. They are cooperating with jihadists in Syria. We are, I don't know, consciously or subconsciously, we are cooperating also with jihadists, Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood in Libya. So, but just back to the Taliban, we are receiving intelligence from them. They are our partner, and I wouldn't even call them partner. Shawn, they are our proxies.
Jeez. Jeez. Man, it's just gotten so bad. It's gotten so bad. So we talked about simultaneous attacks. Do you think that is there any intelligence that's saying that all of these different sleeper cells will attack at the same time, or will be a couple here, couple there, and just sprinkled throughout years, or will it be all at once?
It's difficult to tell, because the plan itself, it's flexible. So they always can change.
So they'll do it on the fly.
Yeah, it's like you initiate one cell, two, and then you see that, okay, it's not working so much out. Okay, let's abort.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why it's difficult to predict. And here it comes our limitation because of HUMINT. HUMINT obviously has its own limitations.
For the audience, human is human intelligence,
Yes.
meaning it's coming direct from humans.
Yeah. So and we have our limitations, but we are working on it as much as we can to get out and just to pass it to
I
someone
think,
who can do something.
I think one of the most alarming things that you mentioned is that there will be no SIGINT intelligence, it sounds like, because of the couriers. And so, when I was when we were working over there, a lot of it was intercepting cell phones, some communication devices. We were able to intercept those text threads, those conversations, those emails. And now that they're using couriers, it's only down to human, it sounds like.
Also, and also just as a plus, China is helping the Taliban to protect this communication. So even if they are doing communication on the cell phone, it's protected by Chinese technicians.
So China is behind. Is
It's kind of assisting. It's a symbiotic relationship. They have a long-term plan there, in Afghanistan. I mean, all the mining contracts, we are talking about years. So it's kind of, yeah, I'm having some income here, so I'm helping you. And just back to this cooperation, I didn't know the first time when I heard, I didn't know I should lie or cry. But when the Taliban meets the US officials, including the three-letter agencies, right after the meeting, the Taliban actually is briefing China what was discussed during the meeting with US officials.
How much of the Islamic Army's funding is coming from the minerals that I guess we didn't give up, that China took control of? I mean, I know there's been negotiations between China and Taliban over the lithium mines. Afghanistan's very rich in lithium. We just left it to them when we withdrew from Afghanistan. How much income are the terrorist organizations receiving from China to build these lithium mines?
The Al-Qaeda doesn't receive it directly, so they get it via the Taliban, right? As an income. So they have their own revenue. What I know that is money coming from gold mines, gem mines, drug trafficking. Al-Qaeda has a revenue. I would say that what I could track, it was annually around $500 million.
$500 million
goes directly to Al-Qaeda.
So less than what the U.S. is funding just in cash.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't get the point. I mean, how do you expect them to take your side when you pay less? And I think basically the approach is wrong. I had in 2023, I had a discussion with the Taliban. On the ranking is like up. And he just told me that you people are so arrogant and you can believe that if you pay, we are going to whatever you want. And, so correct.
How does Russia fall into this? I mean, we're obviously not friendly with Russia as the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues. However, we did see, was it ISIS-K that did the attack on the Russian mall? And so are the Russians, how do I say this? Are the Russians, well, we know China, we know that China obviously benefits from what the terrorist organizations plan on doing to Europe and the West, being the U.S. Does Canada fall into this at all?
Yeah.
What about South America and Central America?
They are not much.
No. So what is Russia's stance on this? Are they taking precautions? I mean, they took a big hit. It was bigger than
Is it a big
Orleans.
hit to have a attack in a mall? I mean, just because it's the first thing which came up in my mind when I saw the social media after the attack in Russia. It was like this bandwagon, ISKP went global, they are deadly, they are this and that. And just come on, man, look at the scale of the attack. It was like the guy almost like in New Orleans, no? So if you see the casualties.
Well, there was multiple shooters there, wasn't there?
Yes.
And the casualty rate was a lot
Yeah, it was higher.
more.
Yeah. Russia currently is helping the Taliban to rebuild the weapon system in Afghanistan. I mean, there are Russian soldiers, dressed in civilian, but they are soldiers. Technicians helping the Taliban to repair tanks, aircrafts, which are coming from the Russian time. It's beneficial for them because obviously they get paid for it, right?
So is it Wagner Group?
I don't know their nature. I know they are there. I know they are in Kabul. There are a couple of ones also in the north. I don't know where actually they belong, but they are Russian.
So they've potentially made amends.
Yeah. And, they are helping to fix tanks, airplanes, helicopters. So it's also another symbiotic relationship.
I mean, they tortured those guys. They tortured those guys that shot those people at the mall.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's one attack. It's one attack. And this is where it gets interesting. If I see, I mean, when you see ISKP or the Islamic State in Afghanistan, it's interesting how it developed. So in 2023, somehow, actually I couldn't track it how, Gulmurod Kalimov, he was the number 2 in the Islamic State, appeared in Afghanistan in a prison in Nimruz province. We couldn't track it how he ended up there, but he was there. And then he was transported in 2024, was transported to the north and started to set up training centers. Don't think, big training bases. They were small centers dealing 20, 30 people. And these fighters were coming from Central Asian countries, coming through the border, by the help of the Taliban and the GDI, the Taliban intelligence. Gulmurod Kalimov's key role there is that training these foreign fighters, send it to Central Asian countries or even to Russia, just to destabilize Russia. Gulmurod Kalimov has a very close connection with Sirajuddin Haqqani. So when we started to talk about, also Sarah, here talked about, Gulmurod Kalimov and the training centers. So they removed all this to the other side of the Afghan border. So this, these tribal areas in Pakistan, because we started to talk about it, and obviously on the north, Afghans in the north of Afghanistan, they talk a lot, because these people are, they don't belong to there. And this was reported, Shawn. There was a report about this.
Wow.
And 2023, the Taliban GDI director, Abdul Haq Washik, I don't know if you heard about it, he's a former Gitmo detainee actually. He went by private jet to Italy and participated in intelligence conference. I don't know what was on the conference, honestly. I always confess if I don't know something, so I don't make it up. But suddenly they started to arrest Tajik nationals, ISIS-related nationals in Europe. So I guess they put him on working. He was kind of tipping off, the European agencies. But I have one question to the European agencies. I know how many people are passing every month from Central Asian countries to Afghanistan. How many they are arresting in Europe? Do these two numbers are matching each other?
What are they?
I don't think so. I mean, there are a couple of arrests. I mean, if Sirajuddin Haqqani is smart, what they would do, I train more, I tip off, a couple of useful idiots, so they can see me as a potential counter-terrorist partner, and the rest, just let them working.
So another diversion.
Exactly. And I know it's almost every month between 60 and 80 foreign fighters are entering Afghanistan. So, and it was interesting because I was thinking why they put this guy, Washik, to this conference. And last week I found the solution actually that he, even in the past, he offered his help to the American government, to capture the Taliban intelligence chief. So I think they just returned to this information, okay, this guy offered once, so now he will be useful. I can tell you he is not useful because I'm pretty sure he is not tipping off every single incoming fighters.
How are these guys convoluting with the cartels? You kind of mentioned that earlier, that they had close ties within Mexican cartels.
Yeah, it's all about money. It's business for everyone. I mean, Al Qaeda and the Taliban, but mainly Al Qaeda had a relationship with them in the past too. They used these organized crime groups to, for example, get nuclear material. So that's what they are using. Now I know that they are cooperating with Russian organized crime groups, and they are helping to get some stuff in, crossing our borders, including the United States border.
How long have they been convoluting with cartels?
I mean, it's I mean, the problem here is that what I have access to, I have capacity just to track specific things. So the time, I don't know. But I know there are materials. For example, the Albanian mafia is taking cash into Europe sent by Sirajuddin Haqqani. And I mean, money bags. Is the Albanian mafia there, for example? Here, I know that it's the cartel. It's probably about weapon and other things. Why? Because they are here. The local guys.
Yeah.
They know the flow.
Yeah, they're good at it. Mm-hmm. They're good at it. What would Al Qaeda? What is their long-term plan? What is their short-term plan? On top of that, is it the same long-term, short-term plan for not just Al-Qaeda, but for ISIS, for Al-Shabaab, for Taliban? Is it all one plan?
I mean, kind of, sort of. What Al Qaeda is doing now, and we have to also look into what they are doing on one specific spot. Al Qaeda's short-term plan now is that, short and middle term, is that trying to support local jihadist groups to form a government, to take over a country.
To take over an entire country.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what the Taliban did.
They just did it in Afghanistan.
They did it now they did it in Syria. So it's what people don't understand about Syria, that it's a really trick what our governments and the media is doing. That, I don't know if you follow the news, what happened in Syria. So the guy changed his suit. He's in suit, ties. He's using his name, real name, not the nom de guerre. And he's meeting our politicians. So he's changed. And that's what every analyst are saying now who have government contracts. He's changed because he's saying that. Well, I can tell you that those fighters were trained in Afghanistan, and Al-Julanis, because I use his fighter name, I'm not using his civilian name, he sent people to those meetings with Al-Qaeda, and he cooperated.
Do you have any idea what country they plan on conquering, taking over?
It's not just physical, okay? Imagine that it's interesting to see, for example, Libya. The Libyan government is backed by Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. And we are dealing with them soon. Shawn, we are going to buy oil from them.
What about Yemen?
Yemen, yeah, the Houthis. I mean, in 2022, I already told that, and there were other reports, okay, so I'm not painting myself as a genius, it's just I'm also reading a lot. So all these, institutions, reports, for example, there is an amazing institution called Sana Center. They are reporting about Yemen. Also, they mentioned that it seems like Al-Qaeda on the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, one of the affiliate of Al-Qaeda branch in Yemen, is showing some interest to cooperate with the Houthis. And everyone, no, Houthis are Shia, AQAP is Sunni, they hate each other. Again, old dogma. Well, they are working together. And it was publicly released last year. So we need to overcome this barrier, these old dogmas, to see that, like you see, it's a new organization. Let's discover it. Somalia is struggling, that Al-Shabaab can't win, they are just, they are fighting with the government. Obviously it came up, we should negotiate with Al-Shabaab. Because all these terrorist organizations, or these jihadist groups, what they do, they realize that Taliban communicated highlighting local interest, and we buy it. So when we negotiate with Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Al-Shabaab is busy just with local agendas. Yeah, but that's not true.
How much influence do they have within more well-to-do countries throughout the Middle East and East Africa? Do they have influence in Saudi Arabia? Do they have influence in Oman? Do they have influence in United Arab Emirates? Countries that are are wealthy countries?
Well, they use the Muslim Brotherhood, which kind of, Al Qaeda, the Islamic State, they are rooted to the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood loves to portray itself as a non-violent group. However, they are the political wing of this Islamic army. Why I'm saying it? It's because the Muslim Brotherhood is banned in Arab countries. For example, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, they are banned. And what the Muslim Brotherhood has tried to do again during the Hamas attack is fueling internal tensions. Telling to these Muslim leaders are infidels, they are serving just the West, they are not protecting other Muslims, they are supporting Israel, on the war on Gaza. What these countries do is that they break it down very hard. I mean, if they hear a speech from a radical imam in a mosque, the guy will be arrested on the next day. They just don't give any gap for these radicals to plant a seed.
So they don't have much control in those countries, is what you're saying.
They have some. I think the weak link, what we could witness during the Hamas attack, after the Hamas attack, what I saw, the weak link was Jordan. Jordan is a country, depends on also aid. And they had a very strong Muslim Brotherhood inside work. They were preachers, in the mosque, asking the people to break in to Israel, kill Americans. They struggled, but somehow they were able to control it. But I know that during from the meetings, right after the Hamas attack, Al Qaeda Central had weekly meeting with the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan to discuss how to cause more issues within the society, fueling, tensions, asking the people for protest to weaken King Abdullah. Weekly. They had these amazing meetings every week, coordinating with military commanders in Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. They did it every single week.
What about Western Asia, or actually any Asian countries? Do they have influence there? I'm trying to get a overall picture of how much influence they have throughout the world. So South America, Central America, we know they're in with the cartels. Let's go to Asia.
It's global. It's just directly what I can see. And, this is why I often call Afghanistan as the fountainhead of global jihad. Because it's not just the Taliban, it's Al Qaeda together. So what I could see that they are providing physical support. I'm talking about weapon, ammunition, financial support, money to 19 countries.
Can you name them?
Yes. So we have here Afghanistan, so the east is going to Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir. We have Bangladesh, Myanmar, Indonesia, and Malaysia. We have the whole Middle East. Then we have Yemen, Somalia, Libya, Morocco, Jordan, and the Sahel itself, Burkina Faso, Mali. That's what they do. And they have facilitators in every embassies.
And this is the long-term plan.
The long-term plan is to establish the caliphate.
So the taking over countries is a short-term plan.
Yeah, it's taking more and more. It's kind of it's physical. Imagine this plan. It has two ways. You have one physical, just trying to put more and more countries where these Islamists are ruling. That's what you can see, for example, in the Sahel. And then you establish governments which are backed by these terrorist groups. And the long term plan is to have this Islamic caliphate ruled by Sharia law. The short-term plan is getting more and more countries. So expanding your influence, expanding your power, expanding your networks. This is what they are doing now. So when people are telling me that Al-Qaeda is recovering in Afghanistan, they are reorganizing stuff, it's wrong. Al-Qaeda is full operational. Actually, they jumped another level when now we are talking about massive innovations, what they are doing. They have so many scientists, Shawn.
Let's move into the caliphate. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's basically Sharia ruled system, exactly what we are seeing in Afghanistan. And it's just not having any Western influence on it. So it's actually the long-term goal is quite simple. Where they do all these tricks is this short and middle term, like making the people believe that if someone is changing the clothes and start to use the real name, that guy is our friend. And this is when we are not paying attention.
Break it down a little bit more basic with the caliphate.
Okay.
What is it?
Caliphate is that it's a system. I would say it's a government system which is running a country, and you have, I don't know. I mean, should I explain this Sharia law? It's
Yes.
okay. Basically, it's defined by the religion itself. It has its own judicial system, its own educational system. For example, they don't have so many subjects to teach which is related to science. So it's all this about the religion. Honestly, the caliphate is not my strength. That's more about other members of the team. But yeah, that's the plan. I think that.
So it's basically a global type government that falls under Sharia law.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they want. That's the long-term plan.
That's a long-term plan, and I think this is the key where their strength is, that we don't plan on a long term. Our leaders are planning for 4 years. They have this plan, and you cannot even put a timeline onto it, because if it, as Jesse Perilla wrote, he just released a book, and I loved the title. If it takes 1,000 years, doesn't matter. Keep going.
Like China.
Like China, exactly. So they are learning.
In their eyes, what constitutes a takeover of a country?
That's a good.
Where do they find what is successful in their minds when it comes to taking over an entire country?
When you start to talk to them and negotiate with them. That's already a good point. It's already a good point. I mean, just to see that we know that a couple of people in the Central Libyan Bank, they are Al-Qaeda members. And they are controlling, millions of dollars. We are negotiating with them. I mean, we are having trade with them.
It's not necessarily planting a flag.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's influence.
It's how much influence they have over the
And
government.
they have a massive influence in Europe. It's crazy to see that, how, it has a history, like after 2001, the 9/11 attacks. Obviously, societies developed, this anti-Muslim attitude. So, for example, in Europe, we used NGOs, kind of calm down, this kind of attitude, because obviously it's not about religion. I mean, we can't say that every Muslim, they are terrorists. It's not true. We know that it's nothing to do actually with the religion itself. And these NGOs just got so powerful in especially in Europe, that they are influencing governments. For example, in Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Switzerland seems so neutral, actually is a center of terrorism in Europe.
Are you serious?
I work with, I work with several analysts, and I have several partners. Obviously, I cannot reach out to every countries, but we have Swiss partners, and they are telling us that what's going on in Switzerland, terrorist recruitment, financing terrorism, and actually there are terrorists who proved to belong to Al-Qaeda, and they are Swiss nationals. And the government is not deporting. There was, I think, recently 2 or 3 months ago, that they could suspect the guy belonged to Al Qaeda, and they couldn't deport him because of the law.
Because of the what?
Law, because of the law. He has the second citizenship, or got the refugee status, and you can't deport.
You brought up scientists and innovation
Yeah.
just a few minutes ago. What kind of innovations are they doing right now, other than this invisible bomb?
So I think that's kind of shows that the operational part is running, right? Because it's just running by itself. It's set up, it's working. So what they did is that they have scientists there. What we know, they have microbiologists who are working in biological labs, developing weapon of mass destruction. They are working on it. Even the UN reported that they have weapons engineers.
Weapon what?
Weapon engineers.
Weapon engineers.
Yes. To build new weapons. For example, we know that they are working on drones.
So we're potentially facing biological warfare as well.
It's on the platter, yes.
What kind of biological weapons?
We exactly don't know, not yet.
Viruses?
They are working on modifying agents to make it more lethal. And there is an Al-Qaeda microbiologist, and he was detained. His name is Yazid Sufat. He is a Malaysian, actually he's a former military. He studied in the United States. And he was detained until 2019. Then his close monitoring ended in 2021. 2022, he was already working in Afghanistan in a lab.
Where are they testing these?
They already tested
Where?
in Afghanistan.
What was the outcome?
It's working.
It's working. What else are they innovating?
These are the two what we actually know until now.
Drones and biological
Yes.
warfare.
Yes.
The invisible bomb, which is
Yeah.
already
That's
complete.
already done, and the invisible vests. So they are just doing their job. And I think the crazy part is that they do all this without intelligence interference. Foreign intelligence interference.
Let's talk about a little bit about the role of Turkey.
Yeah. So Turkey is, it's been on the news, obviously, because of Syria. And Turkey always hosted and sheltered the Muslim Brotherhood. And since, they are kind of neighbors, they had very good relationship with jihadist groups in Syria. I am not so sure Turkey's goal yet. I'm trying to see if they are helping to spread the sentiment of Islam jihad, or they are just exploiting these terrorist groups. And it's kind of expanding, their interest, their power. I still need to see this because, but my capacity is really, really limited on this field, and let's see what's going to. But I need to see before I claim something. I suspect that it's a symbiotic relationship that we are working together. I mean, if you see Turkey is in Somalia, now they have got huge influence on Syria. So
Qatar?
Qatar. Qatar is a difficult case because several things happened. I just saw after the Hamas attack that there was an Islamic scholar group which visited Afghanistan. It was in 2023, February. And they met Sirajuddin Haqqani. And they gave him a gift, which was a replica of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And you know how they called the Hamas attack? Al-Aqsa flood. So that was interesting. I don't know what happened on the meeting, but I found it interesting. And this Islamic scholar group is funded by Qatar. Plus, we have information that until now, like I don't want to say exact number, but more than 10 times planes landed in Kabul delivering M4 rifles to the Taliban, which is a violation of the embargo.
Wow. These guys' network is a lot bigger than I thought.
And plus we had this, I don't know if you heard about it, we had this Qatar gate, that how Qatar is kind of buying influence in Europe. So there were several European politicians, they got caught because they received money from Qatar. So they are massively influencing decision makers and policy makers in Europe. And there were a couple of European politicians spoke up, saying that, come on, people, we need to stop Qatar. We are doing what Qatar is saying. And then they got labeled, oh, you are far right, you are Islamophobic, you hate refugees. So they were completely discarded. But in Europe, we have a massive influence of Qatar, and we are not doing anything. It's just going by the flow.
GDI.
Yeah.
Can you explain what GDI is?
Yeah. So it's a Taliban secret service, obviously the intelligence service of the Taliban.
So the GDI is the Taliban's version of CIA,
Yes.
MI6.
Yes. Yeah.
It's an intelligence organization
Yeah.
of the Taliban.
Yeah, it's run by Abdul Haq Washik, the former Gitmo detainee guy, which is, I think he's kind of playing his role in the system. The most interesting person in the GDI is Tajmir Javad. He is the deputy. And he has a very important role in Al-Qaeda. He is representing the Haqqani network in Al-Qaeda. When it comes about decisions or something coming from the Haqqani network, it's him who is representing Sirajuddin Haqqani. It was a couple of months ago when Al-Qaeda wanted to send suicide bombers to the West Bank. And it was Tajmir Javad who used his veto and said, no, I think we should wait. So he has a very good position. Otherwise, what the GDI is doing is providing protection and undisturbed condition to every training centers, training bases. They are responsible for the security of Al-Qaeda members. They're traveling around Afghanistan. So that's their main job. And it's trying to find the people who are talking. And
So is GDI the intelligence service for not just Taliban but Al Qaeda, ISIS?
Yeah.
So it's basically the Islamic Brotherhood's intelligence service.
Yeah.
It covers it top covers all of these terrorist organizations.
Yes, they do.
Where is their headquarters?
It's in Kabul. They are operating from there. They have several departments, and they are like one.
What are the departments? How is the GDI broken up?
I mean, they have one department specifically which is taking care of the security of the Al Qaeda members, and there are one department. For example, they have SIGINT department. I just discovered
They have a SIGINT
they
department.
have SIGINT department, which was actually very active around safe houses where Al Qaeda members are. They constantly checking if there is any foreign SIGINT activity. So this is how they take so seriously the protection of Al Qaeda members in Afghanistan.
How long has the GDI been around?
I mean, it's like it was established right after Kabul fell, and that's their main job.
So about what, 4 years?
Yeah.
Do they have operators in the field throughout the world?
I don't know that part, honestly. Haqqani Network, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a global organization. But the GDI, I don't know. I know that there are people in the United States directly being connected to the GDI. I know that.
So they have operatives inside
Yes.
the U.S.
Yes.
and in Europe.
And in Europe as well. They are directly communicating with them. I know that.
What are they doing? Are they conducting surveillance? Are they infiltrating media? Are they what they're lobbying, obviously.
Yeah, they are lobbying. That's what they do. I think also what they are doing is trying to identify Afghans abroad, who can be potentially your help, kind of source, or they are trying to help you. Because, a lot of Afghans, who are here, they have their family in Afghanistan. So they know what's going on in Afghanistan, so they can be very helpful for you. So I know that a lot of Afghans here in the United States, but also in Europe, they are so afraid to speak because they can be found. They know who are here, from the Haqqani network or from the Kandahari Taliban who are potentially working for the Taliban. They know that, but they are just so afraid to speak up because they are afraid they will be deported because they can see that our governments are protecting the Taliban.
So the operatives are also developing assets and creating their own networks.
Yes, they do.
How effective are they compared to an organization like CIA or MI6?
I think they are not much. I think their effectiveness relies in simplicity.
In what?
They are so simply working.
Okay.
It just really they are taking their time. They are super smart. It's like one thing. What I know, there was one guy in the United States. His job was given by the Taliban, by the Haqqani network, is trying to check and monitor social media to see which Afghans are speaking up or potentially sharing information. That was his job, and he got paid for it. So they are very simple things what they are using.
So when they recruit an asset, are they paying the asset or are they threatening the asset?
Yeah, they do. Sometimes they threat. When they threat, usually what I could see is that, they are not speaking. And I don't know if you've seen that there was this Afghan athlete, female athlete, spoke about, the Afghan cricket team, and she is receiving death threats. And she has protection from the French police. So it went that far. So they have power in our countries. They really can make people's life hell.
What have we not covered yet?
Oh, a lot. I mean, it's just we could talk, days about these things. I think what we need to understand is that these groups are getting together. They they had already their interlinks before. Now they are cooperating, Shia and Sunni, which we claim that they hate each other. I think we need to see that we we are running out of proxies. We ad hoc, teaming up with militias, we are using them for our interest, which is okay. But after 4 years, you change it and you start to pay the opponent force. And we are running out of proxies. So these groups are learning and they know that I can play to be your friend, so I get money. But at the end of the day, I still hate you and I still will do an attack on your own soil. And they are cooperating and they are learning from it. So they are not just cooperating; they are learning from it how we can do better. And we still don't want to kind of accept it. And we are using these groups to encounter Russia and China. So it's just, I've never thought I'm going to witness something like this.
What is U.S. intelligence's relationship with Taliban?
Oh, they are having meetings. I mean, it was 2022 or and I don't want to be wrong, 2022 or 23, but I think it was 22, when already we had photo of CIA contractors in Kabul. So what we know that they are not all the time there. They are traveling there, frequently. I know that they share intelligence. The Taliban is feeding the system with sort of intelligence about the ISKP and about the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent. That's it. They are, these small pieces of information and lies. And the United States is not taking any effort to verify this information. And here it comes. You can say that, someone told me that, because they are stupid. They are not stupid. So seriously. So the CIA is not stupid. It's just that's the political order. There is nothing to see. Move on. And it's good for us. When they are lying for us, it's good for us. We don't need to do anything with that. So you don't need to admit it that we are facing, a serious threat. Obviously, Afghanistan was taken over by Taliban and Al-Qaeda, because when you reach these conclusions, the next step is you need to do something, and no one wants to do anything there.
Back to the GDI. I forgot to mention this. Is the GDI still holding American hostages?
Yes.
How many?
What I know, it's 3 who are there, and it was this. I want to say, because I know just his family, this Habibi. He's an Afghan American citizen, and it was just denied such a long time. No, he is not there. They don't have him. Yes, they have him.
This is verified.
This is verified. They have him.
Do you know where he's being held?
Well, we tried to track him, and the last information what we've got is that already the Haqqani network and Al-Qaeda has him. But where, we don't know the location.
What are their plans for this? Are they planning on using our hostages as negotiation?
Oh, yes, that's what they are going to do. That's what they are doing. I mean, It just, you have American citizen, this Ryan Corbett, who is in, as far as I know, his medical condition is that deteriorating,
Deteriorating.
yeah, very fast, and is still there, and you're still sending money. You know, it's just the CIA contractors are passing there every week.
Who are the other two?
This Habibi I know, and I know Ryan Corbett. The third one, I don't know the name. They were not my focus.
Are they torturing them?
As far as I know, no, except Habibi, they do. Habibi, they do. The US citizens, no, they don't.
Why are they torturing him? What do they want to get out of that?
They believe he played sort of a role in the collecting intelligence about Ayman al-Zawahiri, when he was killed in Kabul. That's what they believe, as far as I know. But I think as really the information I have, they don't touch the US citizens. However, I believe just to know the conditions there, that's already a torture.
Yeah,
So,
I can imagine.
yeah.
What kind of negotiations do you think they'll initiate with our hostages?
I think they will play now differently, because of the new administration. I think they are keep trying to sell, we are your friends and we are your counter-terrorist partners. I don't know how it's going to work. But what I see globally and also in Afghanistan, that it's a chess game, and it doesn't matter where we step or what we do. It's checkmate. We don't have so many options to do. I'm just telling you an example. Yeah, you have the hostages there. So, yeah, sure. You don't pay anymore? Okay, we kill them. And what you do? You invade Afghanistan. Well, it's not going to be that easy like in 2001. So you won't do that. So you see, we don't have so many options anymore.
I mean, it's going to be a lot harder if we were to go back there. I mean, we've burned all of our allies. Who would come work with us?
Oh, I think there are still. I mean, even, hearing the Taliban that so many are disappointed. They had this holy war propaganda for 20 years, fighting against America, the big evil. And now they realize that actually the Taliban is the same corrupt, as the government was. They are not receiving salary. So they don't have that such a good life. I mean, the top they have. So the Taliban, from the middle level also are not so satisfied.
And to your knowledge, has there been any attempts to recover our hostages?
I don't know.
Is it even being discussed?
I really don't know. I've got a couple of questions, and but they are not my focus. I'm mainly focusing on Al-Qaeda as the central leadership.
Do they have any European hostages?
Oh, they have, not just American. They have, yeah.
How many European hostages?
As far as I know, they have 26.
26
Yes.
European hostages.
Yes.
And is Europe doing anything to recover their hostages?
I don't know. It's, when I see Europe, it's like there is no communication. Seriously, Europe is not talking about Afghanistan. You don't even find it somewhere mentioned. Oh, yeah, they are talking about, what projects they are funding for the Taliban, and that's it. They don't. Now the narrative, it's all the information. It's all about, the Ukrainian and Russia war. That's controlling the entire information space in Europe.
Are the Europeans even aware that they have hostages?
I don't think so. I just coincidentally saw it in one of the reports, but otherwise no one is talking about it. No one.
Is Europe doing anything to combat what's coming to them?
I don't think so.
How would they begin?
I don't know. I think we still believe that, we pay the Taliban and they need our money, but they don't need our money. And I really don't see this because there is no communication with European agencies or decision makers. Zero. Nothing. Nothing. We have for example, we had couple of people who reached out to us and said, come on, how can we cooperate better? They are fighting the same battle as like Sarah and Scottman is doing here, trying to push, politicians to listen and do something. But in Europe, it's harder.
How would you define politicized intelligence?
Yeah, that's. Just to see the last 4 years, that's what I felt on my skin, is that if a government decides something is not comfortable, something doesn't fit the political agenda, even on the intelligence field, it's just ignored. And this is how Al-Qaeda is. They don't even mention Al-Qaeda. I think I heard maybe 5 or 6 times in the last couple of months, which is already an improvement. It's this using the power to, you don't collect information based on threats. You collect information based on political agenda, like ISIS. It's just ISIS. Al-Qaeda, no, they don't exist. Yeah, but we have this. No, it doesn't exist. And this is extremely dangerous because that means you are missing information and they can be vital. And my partner, he's American. He had direct contact with 3-letter agencies. I didn't. Of course, I'm not American. He had, and he screwed up. He was screwed up so many times by 3-letter agencies. Like, there was one 3-letter agency who told him, don't submit anything to us which is about Afghans or Afghanistan. But why? Because we don't care. That's the order coming from the top.
Jeez. I've heard this a couple times. I've heard it from congressmen at different events that the agency has reached out and told them to just stop talking about it, cease the conversation. This is done.
Yeah, but is it? Isn't it childish? It's like when you have your children, and they say just seek and hide, and they just, I'm hiding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Out of everything that we talked about, what do you think that the biggest threat to the incoming Trump administration is when it comes to terrorism?
it's a little bit complex because, what I can speak about the Trump administration, it's coming from the media, okay? So I don't live here. So what I saw is that the new administration wants to make major changes, right? I don't know, I heard the FBI, intelligence agencies, security forces. That can be a very sensitive point because if they initiate the attack, when you do these changes, that can influence the response, right? Mm. So this is one. The other thing is that I know when they saw the news, Al-Qaeda Central saw the news, first they were very upset President Trump won. But after 10, 15 minutes, Saif al-Adel said, bring it on. So they know that they have a specific plan for the Trump administration. And it's all about, if you see the political agenda of President Trump, it's all about, for example, bringing troops home, right? Mm-hmm. To decrease the American military presence. you will be dragged into conflicts. And you won't be able to do that. Because if you do it, you say that it's another example. You have an attack on an embassy. Okay, let's say that. And they will order, okay, let's find who did it, setting up, a unit, find the perpetrators. Still, troops are there. But if you don't go after them, the restored American image, which was, another promise, during the election, that's not going to happen. So that's why the next US administration don't have, those decision makers, they don't have too many options, Shawn. It's a very sophisticated chess game and they will need a very good chess player.
Do you feel we have any good chess players coming in?
Oh, I don't know. Or just see the other things that these attacks, it will have economic impacts. So his other plan, to make some economic improvements, it's not going to happen.
I got a lot of faith in Mike Waltz. He's the incoming national security advisor, and I hope he's paying attention. I know he is, but he's got a big job to fill. And two more questions before we end. I already think I know the answer to the one, but is there any possible scenario where we make peace with these organizations?
No, because they don't want peace. I heard this, that we make peace with our enemy, right? It's correct if the enemy wants peace. But this enemy doesn't want peace. They don't stop. We passed that stage long time ago. So when we say that, okay, I made a peace deal with them, which, it was like the Doha agreement, you tried. Okay, it failed. So, okay, move on, so solve the problem. And we always discard what these groups want. Why? They are equal players. They have their own 50% in this game. Why are we dismissing that? It's a little bit like self-centered, what we want. Yeah, but look at what they want. And I think it's really important when I see Europe is that, when I heard President Trump said, we make America great again, we are superpower. And it's like being the big brother, because I can see that Europe is doing what, following the American flow. But, to be powerful and being big also requires and comes with responsibility. And I think this is what decision makers and politicians need to understand. You have to take the responsibility and you have to be very careful with it. Because if you don't take responsibility to be great or being powerful, that has serious consequences.
What recommendations, and this is the last question, what recommendations do you have for the Trump administration? What do they need to fix first?
From this point of view, first is that they need to see what happened in the last 4 years. It's kind of, the damage assessment. You have to see what happened. And it's really important for them to be ready to see the ugly truth. Because jihadist groups are our proxies. And I don't know how can you turn that around. And you have to identify lobbyists in the United States, from the Muslim Brotherhood, from Al-Qaeda, from the Taliban. You have to find them and you have to isolate them. If they are double citizens, just rip off the citizenship, go home, please. You're persona non grata here. And also see that, someone used this, so it's really not my words. Al Qaeda, I mean, terrorism is like a tumor. You find it, and it has been growing in the last 4 years. So you can't do that to ignore it. So the coming administration has to deal with it. They will not have another choice. Why? Because it's already here. One of the spreading cancer cells we are having here, and we are having in Europe. So they don't have a choice. And the other thing, what I would really love to see finally from someone being active and not reactive.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. I don't know exactly where we would start, but everything seems reactive now. I think where we would start is prepping the local communities and getting them up to speed on this, and allocation of resources, hardening up school security, hardening up arenas, hardening up stadiums, figuring out how we detect these invisible bombs. I think those would be in my opinion, those would be the first steps on what we need to do to start to secure this
That's
country.
kind of urgent, yeah, it is.
Instead of waiting until the next one happens, and then you get that local community ready when it's already going to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm with you. The administration needs to get the local communities to be more proactive. There needs to be more funding. Yeah, I lied. I said there was one last question. I have one more. We just saw these wildfires
Yes.
in California, specifically in Los Angeles. If I remember correctly, Al Qaeda said that they would burn our cities to the ground.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that let's take all speculation out. Do you have any intelligence from your assets, your sources, that was instigated by terrorism?
No, it was not. At least that's what I've got. It was not. But they praised it. So it was heartbreaking to see. But yeah, they praised it. I checked it, I asked it, and my information is no, they didn't have anything to do with. I think it was an eco-terrorist, but it's, who knows? Obviously, I don't know everything. So I asked them, and they said, no, it has nothing to do with them. I think, the most powerful person in Al Qaeda Central is Saif al-Adel. And recently we could get the translation of his book. The guy is a genius.
Why?
He talks about strategy. He talks about innovation, targets, allies, leadership. He is a genius.
Should we go into that?
I mean, yeah, it's a detailed what his ideas. It's a military strategy book. How leadership should look like. I mean, I would even give it to my country's politician is read it, because this is what we need, leadership. He's writing about lessons and learn. He is writing about don't get stuck with victory. Go through the losses, mistakes, because that's how you develop. It's amazing. I suggest the new administration to read his book, because it's just very impressive. This is how Al Qaeda is. When we look at the organization itself today, that book represents the level they are. And I don't see they are on the lower level than us.
Did we discuss the strategy within the interview, a lot of it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are his leadership principles? What stuck out to you?
Loyalty. That's the first one. Commitment. That's also the others. But it's run by a very sophisticated military organization. Very sophisticated and flexible. so they don't have that rigid rules. It's very good. I mean, I was very impressed when I read it.
What is the book?
33 strategies. I'm going to send you, and I'm going to see if we ever, I mean, some places we can make it available, because I wish people could read it, especially decision makers, because they could see this is not a guy running around in Afghanistan with an AK-47.
He's a mastermind.
Yeah, and this guy, I mean, his book could stand West Point or Sandhurst.
You hear that? Any U.S. politicians, any leadership in the country, 33 strategies. You're going to send me a copy?
Yes.
It'll be translated?
Yes.
Will it be digital?
It's already translated, yes.
Can I disseminate it through our newsletter?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll put it in our newsletter when we receive it. You can download it for free. Have your staff read it if you don't have the time to. But sounds pretty clear to me that we need to pay a lot of attention to that book, that mastermind, 33 strategies. Jane, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And I hope the next time we run into each other, it's better news.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.